be, yeah. It's in my restart. It'll be stored in our files.
All right, we're just getting through some technical difficulties and we'll start pretty soon.
Take one to pass it on? Yes. You got it.
I'll do like school.
Oh boy.
You might have closed that thing or I don't know if oh, maybe I do. So this is going to be recorded, so like people like Trevor or anyone else in this meeting can
So we
watch
shouldn't
later.
say anything bad
Yeah.
about, okay, about Trevor. Not if Trevor's gonna watch it. I'm having trouble getting on your.
All right, so I'm get started. I don't know if Kevin Cameron, he accepted the meeting, but I don't know if he's just running late or he's joining us online, so. And we have Nicole Shaw on online, and Nicole. Kendra Martinenko is also online, and I think that's it. Yeah, and in the room, we have Nick Forty, Sadie Carney, Virginia Stapleton, Mike Jaffe, Kim Sapnar. So let's just go over the agenda for the meeting. My goal is to get out by 6. Respect your time, so we're going to go kind of fast, but feel free to stop once we get into discussion. I'm going to get, basically this is a catch-up meeting, since we really haven't met for many months, probably because I had COVID and was down and couldn't meet and stuff like that. So, and we were doing a lot of work in the intro, it's just we didn't have time for meetings. So this is a catch-up. We're going to talk about the work we've done up to now, and then at the end we'll talk about where we're at, the current kind of step in the process, and then the next steps going forward for the end of the plan. I'm going to give a little demonstration of a presentation of a couple of things that's on the agenda. I'm going to start with the public input from the open house. So you saw some of this in an earlier meeting, but some of these documents are getting finished now, and I wanted to give you copies of it. I sent you this document yesterday, and I guess we have some printouts for everyone here.
Which one is it? The big one? Big one.
The big one, yeah.
Yes.
And I don't have a copy for myself.
Oh, here.
That's okay. So it's, we did the open house last spring, and it took us several months to crunch the data and write the reports. And actually, I'm still finalizing the final ones. But let me go to my PowerPoint to kind of give you key takeaways again from that on open house activity survey. Oops. I can get the right screen here. Okay, so if you look at the screen, this is just a summary of what we did for the open house number 1. So we sent out 30,000 postcards in English and Spanish, newspaper stories and ads, 8 videos, which several of you did, as you recall, and used that in social media, and we had gift cards. So all that effort resulted in 796 people responding to our survey. In the report, there's some demographics about who responded, age groups, things like that. Of those 796, they answered some multiple choice questions about how they feel about the transportation, the safety of the transportation system, what they thought the important strategies are, what focus areas to do. We'll see some of that results. People also shared their stories. So we asked them if you had like a story about being unsafe on the system, tell us about it. So there's a document about that will be posted soon to our website. And we also had an online map with about 1,100 comments, and people went on, on the map, and I put a pin somewhere, and then wrote a comment about how this location is unsafe for various reasons.
Yeah.
We also had some small focus groups. So we did a lot of outreach. In very general terms, this is what people told us on some of the multiple choice questions, things they felt safe or unsafe. So they feel safe driving or riding in a vehicle or riding a bus. They feel unsafe on a bicycle, crossing a busy intersection while walking, biking, and rolling, traveling through intersections, traveling at night during bad weather, and there were kind of split responses for walking and rolling. But actually there were a lot of comments about how unsafe it is walking and rolling in the comments and the stories for sure. So on focus areas, they thought we should focus on safety at intersections, on speeding, people who are distracted while traveling, and safety while walking, rolling. So what was the focus areas from that? And then what strategy should be prioritized? We asked them that, and we gave them a choice of 8. These were the top 4 answers: providing sidewalks on streets where they're missing, more enhanced crosswalks, making intersections safe for everyone, and providing more bicycle lanes or separated bike paths. So it's a lot more detail in the report if you want to dig into it and see what the other answers were. I'm just giving you a very high level report on what was in that the survey.
Can I just a quick clarification on what an enhanced crosswalk is? Is that something with a walk signal?
Yeah, with the flashing beacons.
Oh, with the flashing beacons even?
Yeah, a crossing.
Because every intersection is a crosswalk, but they're not all marked.
Right, we're talking about mostly the mid-block ones that are, people just dart across the street, and more and more we're seeing the protected crossings with the flashing beacons, or a median. Sometimes we're doing flashing beacons. They have a median.
Yeah. Can I ask a question in the last one here where we said provide more bike lanes and separated bike paths or separated? Was there any clarification on what a bike lane is to the people who took the survey? I found that people who say bike lane means something different than what we typically have.
Yeah, we didn't give that clarification.
Okay.
Kind of left it to them too.
Yeah. Thank you.
These open-ended comments were very interesting. I've been kind of studying them while I had COVID and reading them and categorizing them, in different groups. So in very general terms, the report goes into quite great detail. When we asked them, is there anything else to add to what you're telling us in these multiple choice questions? About half the comments were comments about unsafe behaviors that we're seeing out in our community. So unsafe behaviors of drivers and non-drivers, might be speeding, aggressive driving, not obeying traffic control signs, but also non-drivers, people that walkers or bikers who don't obey the rules of the road, don't obey traffic signals, whatever. And then the desire for increased traffic enforcement and automated enforcement, like red light cameras and speed feedback signs. Believe me, if you take time to look at it, you can actually see what they're telling us. It's quite fascinating to see the level of concern they raise in these stories and these feedback questions. In addition to half the comments being about unsafe behaviors, the other half, when we asked them this open-ended question, was asking for better infrastructure and design. The typical things you might expect: better sidewalks, safer intersections. Just in general, maybe our city needs to be redesigned. The street system is not safe as it's designed, so that goes back to the planning. Redesigning state streets, but lack of infrastructure, so we don't have sidewalks on certain roads. So I encourage you to look at all those comments, or at least glance through them and get a sense of what the community is telling us. And like I said, I put it in all sorts of categories. You can see there's lots of breakdowns on this, so you can look at a bunch that talk about anything like enforcement, or a bunch talking about unsafe driving, and what they mean about unsafe driving. So that's there for you to look through. As I mentioned, we had the online comment map with lots of comments, and the consultant spent the most time looking at these comments, and their takeaway was that people don't feel too safe walking or biking due to high speeds. There's a lot of concern about aggressive driving, the poor conditions of the infrastructure, or the overall lack of infrastructure. Again, the same things we're hearing with the open-ended comments. Not surprisingly, we hear a lot. And there is a report that has a summary and these quotes. Then we also got stories. So this is stories like, share a story of you or someone you know that felt unsafe in our area and what they are. So I went through those stories too and categorized them into these categories. And you can see there's a lot of them about aggressive driving, about a dangerous location, drivers disregarding traffic signs, not yielding to bikes and peds. We heard that a lot. The category of need is like the lack of infrastructure, needing bike lanes and paths, sidewalks, signals. Lots and lots and lots of comments about speeding. So just to give you an example, here's one comment I just pulled off 10 minutes ago from the list. It's talking about someone that's almost being hit. You know, I've merely been hit in the crosswalk by cars multiple times, with vehicles coming within inches of me. Not sure what can be done except for speed cameras and increased enforcement and high fines. The small community, word will get out that fines for speeding and not yielding in a school zone or crosswalk is expensive. Drivers do not yield to pedestrians could be very aggressive and assuming the road is theirs and that pedestrians should yield to them. And I tell you, this is very typical kind of a response we got with people's stories. It's very personal to them. Yeah. So that's kind of a summary of the online open house. Like I said, we'll have lots more on the website. That report that's passed out and some of these supplemental reports about the open-ended comments. So now I'm going to move on to the next one, which is the solutions memo. So you may remember in our last meeting, we started talking about how we're going to approach developing solutions and strategies. So we looked at all the crash data, looked at the comments, and the crash data told us what our emphasis areas probably should be, and we kind of agreed on a set of emphasis areas. And then the next step was to look at locations and we picked 10 locations to do some study, and that's what the consultants did. I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but the framework for this is something called the Safe Systems Approach, which some of you may know of already, but it's not that old. It's been around for a couple of years, kind of imported from Europe. And it touches on these 5 areas: safer people, and that's behaviors, safer roads, safer speeds, and then safer vehicles, and then post-crash care. There's the 5 main areas. The three I underlined that are the first 3 bullets are the main ones we're going to focus on in our plan: people's behaviors, the roads, the speeds. Safer vehicles, we can't do much locally, but we can advocate for safer vehicles. Some plans talk about advocating for safer vehicles. And post-crash care, we probably won't delve too much in our plan about that. We haven't talked to the consultant about a lot of those things, but it's a strategy to maybe evaluate or do something about it in the future. Better coordination. I'd love Trevor to stay on somehow because his emergency room position probably has various insight. So.
And I think that like the city of Salem's already taking steps on this last one, right? And so I think everybody is working together on this, and it'll get better overall.
Is that the ambulance service?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I saw the headline, didn't get a chance to read all that. So.
Yeah.
One of the things that you can do for the post-crash care subject is really just access to emergency services, like making sure that there's not roadways that are blocked off that make it take longer to reach the hospital. I think that golden hour is the target to be, if there's a crash, to be able to get people to the hospital within the hour. So, but there's not that many places in Salem where there would be limited access to an ambulance or to emergency care.
Right. Getting back to the solutions memo the consultant did, you may remember we picked 10 locations. So these were the 10 locations. I know it's kind of small, but it gives you an idea that these are the 10 locations. Some were segments, some were intersections. This shows what the emphasis area is, whether it's bicyclists, speeding, pedestrians, intersections. So that's what's in this memo. can read more about that. So the approach was to take those case studies, study the crash data, look at the road characteristics and the public comments, and then for each one, develop a set of safety solutions that might be used for the case study, not only just the case study, but for similar locations elsewhere in the region. So this is a safety plan. We're not doing a safety analysis in depth for any of those locations. It's really kind of a cursory look. What does the crash data tell us is the problem? What's the road look like? And what are the kind of treatments or countermeasures that we could potentially use for this kind of segment or intersection? And just an example of what helps us develop actual things we want to do on our roads. So that goes into depth of all the case studies. And then
So I think, Mike, so these were, I'm just looking at the selection. So these were selected based on the actual crash history, or the public identified like a specific, they said this, I find this intersection to be
there's a bit of
problematic, or that, okay.
There's a bit of both, and also working with the steering committee, because we had 20 to start with. And so we couldn't study 20, so we said, let's identify 20 and shrink it down to 10. And I remember we were sitting in this room trying to pick out which ones. So an example in the document is the emphasis area speeding, and we picked Liberty Road South as the case study. And each one of these case studies has a description of what the road is like on the corridor. This is a corridor. And then what are some of the problems about the number of crashes, the type of crashes happening on the corridor, et cetera, et cetera. So it goes through the problem, and then it comes up with potential treatments that may address these issues. I'm pausing here so you can kind of take a look and maybe ask a question.
So the treatment part, I'm looking at this Liberty one.
Mhm.
And the treatment would be installing left turn lanes at key intersections. My question is, oh, okay, there it is. Wouldn't we just go to a road diet the whole way?
Yeah.
But I see that there, it's bullet point number 5.
They're not prioritized.
Oh,
Correct.
okay.
Is that correct, Mike?
No,
I think
they're-
they're just there is an assortment of potential treatments.
Yeah.
Not prioritized.
Okay.
Right. So like, again, it's not the kind of focused analysis you can do in this kind of limited study. You know, the consultant looked at it for a couple hours and thought about it, thought about the road conditions, and thought what kind of treatments might you initially think about for a problem like this. Remember, this is a planning exercise, not really an engineering study.
Well, I don't drive on this road very often, but I came to that conclusion a while ago. The road diet.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, skinnying up those lanes to make people less comfortable driving at high speeds would be, I think, a big step in the right direction for a lot of our transportation
Yeah.
thoroughfares here.
Well, in this case, the road diet is not just skinnying the lanes, but it's going from a 4-lane cross section to a 1 lane in each direction and a middle turn lane. Not that they're going to do it. I don't know if the city's going to do it. I don't remember what the status is of Liberty Road.
We
But
talked about it.
I guess they're doing that for Silverton Road.
Yes, you're welcome. They were going to put back in a 4-lane road.
Yeah.
And then Bob Courtwright and I got in the room and said, that is ridiculous. And so we got them to go to the 3-lane with the buffered bike lane, the whole length of it. There is a section that we don't have funding for, but we just need $500,000. So I'm trying to find $500,000 to connect it all the way from the 17th Street intersection, which is just on the east side of the railroad tracks,
Yeah.
all the way up past I-5.
Okay.
So that's good.
Good to know. I guess
Really good news.
it should make it safer. Those 4-lane roads, hard to cross, obviously, for pedestrians, but also have all sorts of problems with
turning vehicles.
turning and people stop to turn and they go around, you know, you see that in State Street, of course, as
A
well.
lot of rear ends like that, and really hard for pedestrians when that happens.
And I see the city doing it more often than they did just on Broadway, right, last year.
They're also looking at Market Street through that lens, which would be phenomenal.
Be a big one for Market Street.
So most of this is about the case studies. And then there's something about systemic crashes, which are, it's not like a certain location they're looked at. These are other crashes on the systems. And what can we do systemically, those type of crashes? So these are the 4 ones they focused on in our area. Crashes in the dark, dusk, and dawn for pedestrians. Fixed object crashes on 2-lane roads. Head-on crashes in urban arterials and left turn crashes on urban arterials. So you can look in the report and get some more idea of what kind of solutions they would recommend for those kind of general and generic safety issues. So for example, the left turn crashes and solutions using the safe street system, safe people, safe speeds, safe roads. Here are the kind of things they might try. And if you look in the report, this is toward the end.
Yeah, what page are we on?
That is toward the end. It's pages 27, 27.
Okay.
So there are 4 systemic trends. It's number 4 about left turn crashes. So a little bit of description about why it's a problem. We had 95 fatal and serious crashes in a 40-year period. And so it's a lot. And so, although it's only 14% of the fatal and serious for that period, but here are the kind of approaches. And it's not just roads, it's also speeds, and it's also people. What can we do to improve driver behavior? Not easy thing, but should be left out. How am I doing on time? Tell me if I'm going too slow, Kim, will you?
Read that, Mike.
Okay, I will go on. So let's move on to the next thing, which is the goal statements. So you may remember at a previous meeting with the consultancy, we talked about we want to have a goal or possibly more than one goal. But I think I'm looking at mostly just one goal for the plan. And how do we want to phrase that goal? What should be our goal statement for that? So Kim collected goal statements from 26 plans. You didn't see the slide, Kim. I put the list in there.
Wow.
Good job.
There's a document that has a table with all the goal statements from those 26 plans. And they're all different, right? I don't think we found 2 that were identical.
Right.
They're all somewhat different. So Kim also picked some sample goal statements. And let me just preview, we're not picking something today, but we will be picking something in a future meeting. So a little bit of homework for you, and maybe we can send you the whole document that has other goal statements. But this is more of a feeling thing. What do you think is the appropriate goal statement for our area, given your knowledge of, the level of fatal and serious, the level of, trying to get to a goal. So I'm not going to read these, but you can see these are, and I think this is one of the handouts that I sent you as well. Yeah.
Adding the date, adding the date.
So yeah, look, you have a handout here.
I don't like things that say like move towards. What does that even mean? Right? It's very opaque.
There's a lot of wording like strive. I saw
Lots of
strive
striving.
many
There's lots of
times.
striving. Yeah.
I really like number 3, working together to create the safest transportation system possible. A region with 0 crash-related deaths and a culture of safety where every life counts and 1 death is too many. That's really, those are stronger words than the others. I like that.
Okay.
And you had mentioned liking a date on there by a certain time.
Yeah, it helps us set goals and benchmarks to measure against. If you have a goal and it's just like, yeah, but I'm gonna lose weight one day. You know, I'm gonna clean up my house
Yeah.
sometime.
Well, in addition to a goal, the consultant has suggested we have performance measures. So those of you on SKATS already know that the federal government has some required performance measures that we set. The state has performance measures, targets, and they want the MPOs have targets as well. I should say the MPO can either set their own target or they should follow the state target. So the state target, and the state has a safety plan too, and they have some targets for how many fatalities, serious injuries, and then a subcategory for bikes and peds. I think there's like 5 safety performance measures and targets that they have. So we already have some at an MPO level. And that helps us track to see, and we keep, with our dashboard, we are tracking how many fatal and serious injuries we have over the years. So we have the numbers. But yeah, we don't have a goal that says we're reaching 0 by a certain date. The state goal is on the bottom.
2035.
Yeah,
6.
by 2035, no deaths or life-changing injuries.
Yeah, and PBO's got 10 years.
Yeah.
I don't know when the clock
City of
started.
Salem was 10 years too.
Is that,
Yeah,
that might be a good alignment.
we're already 1 year in. We have 9 years, folks.
The state's heading in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Not through fault of their own, but the numbers, they have a good goal and they're doing everything they can, but numbers have gone up from the 400s to almost 600. So over COVID, things got worse.
They say it across the board.
So this will be kind of homework for you, and we can send out some more work that Kim did. If you just want to see the statements, see the variety of what all those safety plans have. But I think it's up to this steering committee to kind of lead us in figuring what that goal should be. That'll probably be something in the kind of our late April or early May steering committee meeting, which is the next one. Wow.
I just think, I wonder if I think it's worthy to have the goal of fatalities and serious injuries, right? But I'm just reflecting back on and think about, you did the outreach, right? People talking about feeling safe at a location. So, I know that's a little bit of a difficult thing to, kind of put in the goal statement, but I think something about, right, you're trying to create a system that's accessible and usable by all users. So, so you could say, well, we can make this safer by, preventing pedestrians crossing here, preventing bicycles. So, but if we're at one point, we're trying to do something, we're encouraging people to do it. So I think something that says, and these are always after the fact. It's like it talks about creating I don't know, it's a bit of a term of art, like a safer system or something but it encourages, I don't know exactly what that would be. I'm just trying to think of how we might shape that a little bit and talk about that just versus just a numerical thing, or maybe in addition to that, something that talks about, creates an environment that's, I don't know what that would be.
Well, number 3 kind of talks about that. It's more of a
Culture part.
Yeah, the culture part gets, yeah.
Do we have a way of tracking all of that information?
Sorry, say again, I didn't get that.
Do we have a way of tracking that information?
Of crashes?
Of crashes from Salem, from Keizer, from the surrounding areas that have the highest rates?
Well, we do track all the crashes, and then we track the ones that are also fatal and serious. In fact, hey Kendra, I think I asked you earlier about the high impact network. Maybe you could get ready to share that.
Sure.
You have that. So we have the data, and we've shared the data in the past, and data is always available on our website. The dashboard that says, what the crash statistics are. Do I have to stop sharing, I guess, for you? You just let me know when you're ready.
Okay, I'm ready to share
Okay.
whenever you are.
I'm going to stop sharing. And I have to make you a host, I think.
I think
I can just click my share
you
button.
can
I think.
share.
Oh, okay, I have to stop sharing somehow.
No hosts and teams.
You
All right.
guys just get.
So yeah, we have a dashboard that tracks all these things. And it goes in quite detail about the causes of crashes and all that stuff. But in addition, what Kendra worked on and what she's going to bring up here is something called a high crash network.
High injury.
High injury network, sorry. High injury network. So it looks at crashes that are fatal and serious for vehicles, but also other crashes for bike and ped. And I'm going to stop talking because I always get it wrong. I'll let you talk, Kendra, and explain it.
Okay, can everyone see this?
Yeah.
Okay. And it's expanded it out as far as I can go. So if you can't see it, then we can send out the link to this for everyone. I think we've shared this before, but maybe only to the PMT. It's been a while.
Yeah, this group hasn't seen this, so.
Okay, so yeah, we can definitely share this link. It's public facing. So back in December, I guess, is the last when we updated this last. I created this high injury network. Basically, is what it is. But we're just this is an arc map, story map display, and what we did was we kind of went through all the fatalities, serious injuries, and then also we analyzed the non-motorists, which would include pedestrians and bicyclists.
Oh.
We're losing you.
Yeah, your audio's not coming through, Kendra.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, keep going.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, I think I might have lost my client here. Hold on. Can you still see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, all right, sorry. Network problems today, off and on. So let me just, I don't want to spend too much time because really it's better just for you to go through it yourself. But what we did was we just took all the from 2017 to 2021, all the pedestrian bicyclist crashes that were injury, and then the fatal and serious crashes. And what we did was we weighted these by a severity score. And this is similar to kind of like an EPDO analysis, but the main difference is that we didn't include property damage only crashes. And so we found that there were 529 fatal or serious injury crashes. That includes auto only, pedestrian and bicyclist related, and then 575 non-serious injury crashes. So that would be any reported injury that was not serious injury. And you can use these buttons to the left here to sort by the fatal and serious and non-motorist. And then when you scroll down, we did a kind of a top 20
Oh, lost your audio again.
network.
You're back.
Can you hear me?
Yep, you're back.
Okay, sorry. So I don't know what's going on today with my network, but and so we made a top 20 most dangerous corridors out of this analysis, and then ranked it by the different modes. So you can toggle auto, pedestrian, bicyclist, and then you could just view all of them together to see where there's overlap. And this kind of gives you a kind of an idea as to where there's some patterns going on with the crashes in our area. There's some footnotes here about how the methodology, but I'm not going to get into that. You can read it on your own time if you want to, if you're interested in the nuances of how we actually did this. And then what was interesting was to kind of find where there was some areas of concern that in our analysis that overlap what the consultants did for us. And those are highlighted in the document that Mike had shared earlier with regard to the emphasis areas, and highlighting some of those main corridors that are sticking out in terms of some where there's a higher proportion of fatalities and serious injuries. And so it kind of gives you this description, gives you an idea as to kind of the nature of the kind of the systemic nature of the corridor, and then you can see where the locations of the crashes are. And so there's some different areas we highlighted that kind of stuck out. So Lancaster Drive, Commercial Street, downtown, River Road North, a big one for bikes and peds. It's the 7th most dangerous corridor for bicyclist related crashes, 2nd most for pedestrian. Then we have Commercial Street South between Madrona and Kubler.
A long stretch. It is.
Yeah, and then Wallace Road, from the bridges to Tabin Road is another one. And then you can, down below displays the data in table view, so you can kind of get ideas to the rates, which I think was asked. That was the kind of the question that kicked this off. Was you can see kind of what the fatality and serious injury rate is per mile for each of these corridors. And then, so this is the overall rank, but you can sort it by the different modes. So you can go by each one. So the auto, pedestrian, and bicyclist. And then we just have a kind of a brief kind of what's next timeline down here that you can look at. That is essentially where we're at right now. We're a little bit behind, but we're making progress. So that we can send this link out so you can kind of dive into the data. Yeah, it's on our website as well.
So I would say there's a couple reasons why we do this. One is we have dashboards. This is kind of steps you through the story. It's a story map. And it could show the public, but also show us as planners, what are the corridors that are the highest in our crash corridors, right? Either total crashes, or we'd say it's big crashes. So it lets us say, yeah, here are the corridors with the highest injuries. And should we focus our money, our funds? So when we're doing like the tip selection, one criteria might be, does this project on any of the high injury network corridors?
Mm-hmm.
Might be one of the scoring criteria you use for selecting projects. Okay.
Yeah.
The other thing is these safety plans, at least the federal version that they want you to do, say you should have a high impact network identified. So in order to be compliant with that, which may hopefully down the road let us apply for more of those grants.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully there's more grants in the future for safety. This will let the region say, yeah, we do have a high impact network. Use it to identify problem locations and corridors. So
Can you help me figure out where I would find it on your website? 'Cause I'm looking at our committee page
Yeah.
and the.
can we just send you the link? I
We'll
don't
send you the
want
link.
to. I don't want
Yeah,
to
that's-
spend a lot of time. So I'm going to go on.
Yeah.
It's okay, Sadie, and because I know that we're good. We have like 15 minutes. Right now, we are. Let me go back to my PowerPoint here. So the last couple months, we're at that stage of the plan saying, what are the strategies going to be that we're going to include in our plan? So we've been looking at a lot of other safety plans around the nation. I just grabbed 3 to show you a variety of plans. This one's from the Fremont plan's an amazing plan with St. Paul and Portland. And looking at how they do their strategies, how they identify strategies. And we use that to kind of figure out, well, what strategies do we want to use here? And also, how are people doing strategies? One thing I saw both in Fremont and also in the Seattle one is they had an early plan in like 2015 and 2016. They came up with a lot of strategies. Then they had 5 years to kind of live with those strategies and see if it's working for them or not. And I know for Fremont, but especially for Seattle, they said, yeah, we have a lot of strategies, but we got to focus on what are the priority strategies. We can't do it all. So let's focus on what the priorities should be. So I've asked my consultant project team to do something similar to that. Let's have a list of strategies, but then also let's prioritize on which ones do we want to make priorities, right? We can't do them all at the same time. So we put, I have to switch here. Switch. And go to my OneDrive, just a second. So we put all these strategies the consultant came up with and put them in a spreadsheet. Well, spreadsheet up. And we shared this with the project management team. So your staff at Salem and Keizer and Marion County and ODOT have been going through this. I have to reshare.
And Ted Stone.
And Ted Stonecliffe.
From Transit.
Yeah. So it's gonna be a little small on the screen here. It pops up. So this is a spreadsheet of strategies. And they're organized by our emphasis areas on the bottom. So we had emphasis areas about intersections, about pedestrians, about bicyclists. And so every worksheet has a different set of strategies for that emphasis area. So I'm going to maybe pick pedestrians.
This was, I'm sorry, did you say that the consultant helped put this together?
The consultant, it was a combination of the consultant and us.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So, so this is the pedestrian strategies that we can have in our plan. And there are a lot of strategies. Ones in yellow are basically infrastructure type strategies. The ones in white are more people type strategies, to encourage youth safety equipment for bicyclists, or continued support for the Safe Routes to School program. Create an educational campaign to encourage safe walking and biking. Ensure all sidewalks are present, accessible to standards and in good condition. So it's a number of strategies that they came up with. Yeah.
So the X's mean that is in place already, and then where it's blank, it's not in place?
Right. So I wanted to know first from each jurisdiction, what are you presently doing? So if it's got an X, it's a strategy they are doing now, right? If it's an A, it has a capital A, it's something that is acceptable to them. Like they don't do it now in Salem, but it's acceptable to them to do. And then lastly, you see these ones in orange, and this is still a work in progress, but which ones would you say are the priority ones for your jurisdictions in the next 10 years? So they've been going through that. Some have completed more than others. I think Salem basically finished everything this week. And we met with Keizer and Bill Lawyer. I don't think he's quite caught up, but we met with him in person. So I'm egging these people to kind of finish it up so we can move on with the plan. The idea is to say, what do we do now? Let both the public and elected officials say, what do we do now for these emphasis areas, pedestrians or intersections? And then what could we do more? So that's still a work in progress, but that will shape the work in the next month or so. My next meeting with that group is on the April 4th, and we're going to go through all these and see what we ended up with. And then it's up to the consultant to kind of put this in some kind of orderly fashion of tables that say, here's what we already do, here's what we'd like to do, and here are the, let's say, 10 ones we want to do to prioritize.
And then how do you mesh, you know, for instance, Lancaster is half in the county and half in the city. And I don't know if it's maybe that Marion County hasn't filled out this form yet.
Mhm.
I'm hoping.
They've done some work, but I
But
just
it
said,
looks like there's a really big difference in methodology and how we think about this. And so how does a street like Lancaster get better if there's two different jurisdictions and really not aligned?
it's a good question.
I wish Kevin Cameron were here. You know, I mean, that's my concern, especially for.
Annexation.
Lordy. Yeah, that's my concern.
Right.
What do you, when you say align, you mean like align in terms of what the vision for the facility is? Sorry,
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah.
So it looks like Salem is saying, yeah, we could do this. Yes, we're doing this. We're doing this. We're
Right.
doing all of these things to help make life for pedestrians safer and easier. But then over in Marion County's kind of line, there's not as many things that they're already, I'm not saying they're against them. I'm just saying that they're not actively doing that.
Yeah, I think part of it is we just haven't worked one-on-one with them. We went over to Salem and we sat down with Kevin Hotman and Julie and
Good.
went through and they said, okay, what do you think of all these? This is an X, this is an A. They put down a lot of things they say they're doing. Now, some of these things they're maybe have done once
Right.
or doing it.
Right.
You
No,
know?
I'm not saying we're perfect. There's lots of room to grow here.
And some of these things go into the law enforcement. So like,
Mhm.
you know, some things, it's hard for the public works director to say, law enforcement's going to do this. It's kind of another question.
And I wonder if, sorry to cut you off.
Let's go.
I wonder if, because Lancaster is a unique situation, I wonder if there is a way that this group, you all, could help facilitate a plan for that, where we're all gonna agree to X, Y, and Z to help improve it, so that it's a seamless.
Yeah.
Uh,
We can all you.
yeah, does
Yeah.
that make sense?
BGA.
Well, you know, that would be probably a separate study, just like
Yeah.
Cordon Road was a separate study. We looked at Cordon, the county and the city looked at Cordon Road together. The county did their section and the city did their section, but it was one plan for the whole corridor.
Yeah.
So probably, if you wanted to do Lancaster,
Yeah.
everyone thought the time was right to relook at that. Probably wanted to get a consultant, really dig in to the issues and then come up with actual solutions.
Thank you.
And then as we create a plan and identify strategies and think, okay, maybe we'll look at this in 5 years. This article came across my feed and I bookmarked it. I'll probably never go back to it, but I just Googled it and it's the Rest on Red program. Did you guys read about that in Portland? So Portland, Oregon has a pilot program called Rest on Red that will update traffic signals to detect and react when cars are speeding. So if it's a green light, it'll turn red to force the car to slow down and rest on red. And I was like, wow, what a good idea. And I mean, we're doing all this intelligent transportation, ITS work. And this is, the program is expected to be released in February 2024. So that's right, this is groundbreaking stuff. But what if it's a wild success and we want to see it someplace in our safety action plan? How do we think about building in a retrofit and adjusting our strategies in a way that's dynamic to new technologies?
Good question. I don't know if I have a precise answer. I mean, I think these safety plans, just like the state one, gets updated every 4 or 5 years. First with the data, see how crashes have changed. Then with the strategies, like I said earlier, Seattle updated theirs, kind of refocused their strategies, LIDs for one thing. Doing well, LIDs doing lots of countdown timers, other things. So if that's proves to be successful, that could be added to the list. I never heard of that before. So.
Sounds fancy.
It's almost like it's the next step to what they do on advanced detection,
Mhm.
right? Which is on Turner,
Right.
Turner and Kugler.
Yeah, we have
One
place
location.
where if a truck's coming too fast, it'll detect that it'll blast through the red light. So it'll extend the green a little bit so that truck can go through. I think that's done it's more done, I think, outside urban areas. Trucks are going 60 miles an hour and have a lot of stopping distance, so. So this is
But I just, maybe just add on what you said. I mean, I don't want to put more work on here, but I guess I'm going to advocate for more work, because there's a way of getting more nuanced thing, right? It's like you talked about some of these things they've done. So we've done like a one-off thing versus we have a policy that says this. And then we have a policy that says we're going to do this when we have the improvement. There's a policy that says we're going to go and do this on an existing. So there's a lot of, and I don't know whether, maybe that could be done like as a case sort of thing, like there's like ways to set out. So like we've got case, like if we have a new development, maybe the city will say, well, the new development is this thing. But if we have existing developments, maybe is there a, reactive thing? I guess I'm just trying to see how, like when at the end, we come up with some sort of policy recommendations that say, well, here's what, if the city's doing it, maybe it's a case of, well, but they're doing it, but it's not necessarily a policy embedded thing, or we do it at a certain location. And maybe the question is, well, do we extend that so it's done more universally, or it's done at these types of, I don't know, I guess I'm just trying to think of way to make it more, stretch it out a little bit, make it more potentially flexible or applicable, or get some more, I don't know, something that's going to stick to it versus, we've got something. So here's an example. So the city will say, we do those leading pedestrian intervals, but there's no policy per se that says at intersection that's got these characteristics, we're going to install a leading pedestrian interval, for this criteria. But that's certainly something that could be recommended. It said under these circumstances versus something that's, purely reactive based on if there is a, crash history, then we say no. You're going to install leading pedestrian intervals in all downtown locations, all facilities. I don't know. I'm not advocating that per se as a position. I'm just saying that's, if you want to get to something that's very, specific or more, that's just an avenue. I'm just trying to think of how to.
My opinion about these safety plans we're looking at, it really depends who is put together the safety plan. So if it's a city like Fremont, California, they can get very specific about all the things they're going to implement, because not only are they doing the plan, they're putting their CIP to work on all these things and putting different departments to work on things at the police department. So the city really has the ability to really make a lot of.
Right.
These regional ones are kind of looking at multiple jurisdictions, trying to come up with something regional. So we have to respect what the cities are doing and allow them to set their own policies, while still looking at the bigger picture and see if there's ways that there's agreement on doing certain things. So this is my first time doing one, so we're kind of learning as we go, but we're trying to learn also from other plans.
To the prior point, kind of about like leading pedestrian intervals, like I never know when I'm going to get one and when I'm going to not get one. I never know when I need to push the button to get the thing to change versus it's just going to change on its own. And one of the things I tell my kids all the time is your number one job in a shared space, especially a sidewalk or a street, is to be predictable. You have to be predictable so that other people can anticipate what you're going to do. And it seems to me, I'm just like noticing the conflict here as he's talking about like leading. I'm like, yeah, where are those? I've seen those and I've done those. But like, can we also have a system that is predictable?
Well,
I'm working on it,
working
y'all.
on it, at least we're downtown.
Well, with the TSP, I'd like to get it on all major and minor arterials. Collectors even would be great. There's no reason why we shouldn't have pedestrian lead on any intersection across the city.
Or those just make the walk button.
I don't know why we have a big button. It should just change. We anticipate cars. We should anticipate people who walk.
And maybe people would.
See what we have left to talk about the schedule. Probably the schedule. So this is the remaining schedule. If you have that sheet here, but for people online, I guess I'll display it. Although I did send it out. So let me see if I can. Yeah. Maybe you can talk through the schedule while I bring it up.
All right, so currently, you can see in your handout, just between now and the contract itself with the consultant, it ends by September. So the tentative work sessions right now are coming up. The PMT is going to be working on the strategies in their next meeting to kind of go forward and finalize with that. So planning, a PMT meeting is already set for April. And then we'd like to do another steering committee meeting on the heels of that in April, late April, early May. Look at deciding on draft goal and looking at the performance measures kind of after the process of this integration, prioritizing them, seeing what they're at. And then DKS will be working on the plan. They're starting to work on the plan already. They're not, but it should be in full swing with looking and reviewing. Starting being able to review and see in June, July of the draft plan and doing another outreach midsummer. Again, with available draft plan for comment.
Right, so this group will meet 3 more times. I think maybe all 3 the consultant will be at, if I recall correctly. And then the final plan, we need to be finished with it by September. And then we'll have a plan that we take to the policy meeting, we'll present to them all the work we've been doing for the last year and a half. So we just fit into an hour.
Good job.
Yes.
Especially for me, because I can talk too long.
You did very well.
Anything we left out or you need to ask us?
This is all really great. I can't wait to get the link to that map. And could you also send out the, oh, I noted it somewhere. Oh, yes. Is it Fremont? Vision Zero? Is that the one that you like?
Can you?
Yes.
I think taking notes.
That'd be really great. And then I don't know if the spreadsheet that you shared with us with the different, if that's available for us to review as well, or if you still want to keep that with getting it updated before you. I
Yeah,
would just like to see the criteria. I'm not here to judge the folks. I just want to see what we're talking about.
let me think what I can do, because I could maybe send a locked version
Yeah.
out.
That'd be great.
Just to kind of a caveat that,
Yeah.
work in progress, not finished yet.
Yeah, that'd be great. And then my final ask would be before our next meeting, could we get a little bit more time to review the documents before our meeting times? Because I know, a day before is just hard for me, and I want to come prepared, and I would love to be able to have reviewed and ask better questions.
Same.
Well, Sadie would probably appreciate this. I was working on a lot of things for the SKATS meeting.
Oh, you were? That was you? Just kidding.
And all that thing that goes, everything goes in there. So,
Yes, we keep him busy.
yeah, I'm bouncing back and forth between.
I totally understand. It's just, I had to say it at least.
You're not wrong. I just
Try.
Cam will keep me honest.
Try.
That's right. The nice thing is that we're going to put more on the website.
Great.
So if we forget to send something or you don't remember we sent it, it should be on the website. These meetings, agendas and materials.
Yeah, I sent an email to Teresa. I was like, did I miss the packet for this meeting? And then I went back to my inbox and there it was.
Yeah.
4:59, 5 o'clock.
Yeah, I spent the morning finishing the PC agenda. I spent the afternoon sending things out for this meeting. So,
Oh, thank you. This is really good. I'm feeling positive.
speaking, I get to study Robert's rules.
I have a copy. Should I bring it? Maybe I'll bring it.
I just got 2 copies actually. The full version and then
The laminated cheat sheet.
I got the laminated cheat sheet. I got the full version.
Yeah.
Something in between is
Mike.
like a starter guide.
Got the same playbook
Easy-
now.
Easy guide.
Yeah.
But actually, I think I misspoke to you. This is off. I guess we should adjourn because this is that comments about something else. But anyway, we will meet again in April. We'll send out a doodle poll to see what's a good date. I gotta shape my PMT to get going on those strategies and the consultants. So
How big is the PMT?
it's not very big.
Okay,
7 people maybe.
okay.
It's mostly staff
Yeah.
that are on our TAC and then a couple others. MoDOT.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're making good progress. We'll be meeting a lot more frequently in the next couple months.
Fantastic.
And we're glad you're feeling better.
Yeah. My mom had COVID and she was just like, eh. I mean, she was like, eh.
Yeah.
Because her voice dropped like 2 octaves, but that was kind of it this time around for her. I just, thankfully.
Yeah, I just had a kind of awful and just a long time to kind of get back to
That was-
3 or 4 months.
Yeah. I had RSV and it took a long time this year,
Jeez. On that note, I'm gonna.
yeah. Yeah, right. Thanksgiving and Christmas, look, I'm totally
Yes.
back in action now.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Congratulations, I saw you're running now for state.
I am running for the steakhouse.
State seat.
Yeah. Yep.
Compensator.
Update your website.
We're getting there. I've got a million things
It
going.
still says, does it still
I
say
know.
city council?
Well, we're working on a new logo and then I have to revamp the whole website and it's endorsement season, so questionnaires with due dates are flying at me.
Yeah.
So who goes to a website anyway? I gotta update my campaign committee with the Secretary of State and that's just
Yeah.
nuts.
There's a
Yeah.
lot.
So the first step is the primaries?
Yeah, and I do have a primary challenger.
Okay.
I gotta get through that hurdle.
Is it the incumbent?
No, I think he's a Republican.
It's a person, their name is Keith. I don't know their last name because I can never remember it.
Okay.
Yes. Okay.
All right, well, thanks everyone online. Contact me if you have any questions.
Man.
Yeah, thanks, everyone. Nice to see you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. You too.